Chapter 5. The Famine. It was April when Gray Beaver finished his long journey and arrived at his home village. White Fang was now a year old. His coat was a wolf-gray color, and he looked like a wolf. He was strong, and he could fight with the older dogs and win. When White Fang first came to live with Gray Beaver, one of the oldest dogs always chased him away. That dog's name was Basik. But things were changing now. Basik was getting older and weaker, while White Fang was getting stronger every day. White Fang first came to know this when he was eating some moose meat alone, away from the other dogs. It was a large piece of meat on the bone, and Basik wanted it. He ran to take it from between White Fang's paws. Without thinking, the wolf cub jumped on Basik and bit his neck. Basik was surprised, but he growled at White Fang and suddenly saw fear in the young wolf cub's eyes. Braver now, Basik walked across to the meat and started to eat it. The fear went from White Fang's eyes when he saw this. Now he was angry. It was his bone, not Basik's. He jumped on the old dog and bit off his ear. Then he bit him in the neck, on the shoulder, and on the nose. Basik dropped the bone and walked away with his head down. The months went past, and White Fang grew bigger and stronger. But he was not like the other dogs. The wolf in him made him very different and much more dangerous, and so the other dogs left him alone. One thing made White Fang very angry. He did not like people to laugh at him. They could laugh at other things, but not at him. When they did, he became angry and very dangerous, and the other dogs ran away from him. When he was 3 years old, there was another famine. There were no wild animals to kill, and no fish in the rivers or lakes. It was a terrible time when only the strong survived. The older and weaker Indians in the village began to die, and the children cried because they were hungry. The women left the little food there was for the men. They went out to hunt, looking everywhere for animal trails, but they came home with little or no meat. Dogs began to eat other dogs, and the Indians started to eat their animals. During this time, White Fang left the camp and went to live in the woods. He could run faster and was a better hunter than the other dogs. He could catch the animals that were too small or too quick for the Indian hunters to kill. Because of this, he did not die when others were dying. One day, he saw a young wolf in the woods. The wolf was thin and weak. But for a short time, White Fang thought about going with him. He thought about joining his wild brothers in the wolf pack. But his stomach was empty, and he was too hungry to think for long. After a minute, he killed the young wolf and ate him. Another day, 10 or 12 wolves saw him and chased him. But White Fang's luck was with him. That morning, he was feeling strong after killing and eating a lynx. So he could run faster than the weak and hungry wolves, and he got away from them without any trouble. In the last days of the famine, White Fang met Lip Lip. Each animal was surprised to see the other, and they both growled and got ready to attack. Lip Lip was also living in the woods at that time. But he was not a good hunter like White Fang, so he was not as strong. Because of this, the fight didn't last long. White Fang attacked fast and hard. He threw Lip Lip to the ground and began to bite into his neck. Lip Lip was too weak to fight back, and he died quickly. White Fang looked at him for a minute or two. Then he walked away. One day, not long after this, White Fang looked out from the woods and saw a clearing. The clearing was near the Mackenzie River, and he saw the teepees and fires of an Indian village there. White Fang looked down on it. After a time, he recognized some of the sounds and some of the faces. It was the old village, but it was now in a new place. He also recognized the smell of fish cooking, so he knew that there was food to eat. White Fang came out from the trees and trotted into the village. He soon found Gray Beaver's teepee and went inside. Gray Beaver was not there, but Klukooch was happy to see him and gave him some fish. Then White Fang lay down to wait for Gray Beaver.